Salvete omnes, this is I'm Amelia, also known as TheMartianGeek. And I've finally decided on a game. Volume I don't think is supposed to be that loud. Let's see, there we go. Oh. Okay. Hello, you lovable orange marsupial. Yes, it's time for a game of...
Crash Bandicoot 2. Cortex strikes back.
Yeah, what he said.
Press start to begin.
Time for a game of Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex strikes back, press start to begin. Wait, what? What? Okay, so... we start out with the scene that continues directly from when the first Crash Bandicoot game left off. I'll explain what that entailed later. Obviously, he's the bad guy of this game.
Crystals. Of course.
1 year later.
But Dr. Cortex, to reach full power, we need not only your master crystal, but also the remaining 25 slave crystals from the surface.
That is Dr. N. Jin.
To retrieve them when we don't have any earthbound operatives.
He's essentially a cyborg.
Do you think I'm unaware of
He
the
has a
situation?
missile stuck in his head, in case you didn't
We don't have
notice.
any friends left on the surface. Then we need to find an enemy.
And there's our hero, Crash Bandicoot.
Crash! Crash! My battery is fried. Make yourself useful, big brother, and bring an extra battery for me.
And that's his little sister, Coco. So, this is the intro stage. And now we're in control. Crash can jump. He can run. He can walk. He can slide. He can crouch. And he can body slam. A couple of these moves weren't present in Crash 1. So these are crates. You jump on them to get fruit. The kind with the vertical slats, you can jump on them 10 times and they'll give you 1 fruit each time. They decrease that number to 5 in future games, giving you 2 fruit each time. So, Crash Bandicoot 2. Yeah, that's an Aku Aku mask. That gives you an extra hit. Normally you can only take 1 hit, but if you have 1 or more masks... Whoops! Allow me to demonstrate. That was a little closer to that armadillo than I meant to get. Yeah, that was one of the enemies. And question mark boxes or crates give you fruit and or extra lives. Well, fruit or extra lives. Don't fall down the bottomless pits. Yes, you can still die in the intro stage. So yeah, in case you haven't noticed, we're in 3D now. I think this is the first fully 3D game I've LP'd. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is. I guess the only 32 or even 32-bit or greater games I can think of that I've done were Mega Man 8 and X6, both of which were 2D anyway. So that's the end of the intro stage. We're teleported into who knows where. Gosh, like, what? Where am I? Who the heck is... What?
Well, well, well. If it isn't Crash Bandicoot, welcome. I apologize for the crude means used to bring you here, but I rather expect a written invitation would have been turned down. I need your help. Surrounding you are a series of 5 doors. Through each door lies a well-hidden crystal. The crystals look like this. Bring me the crystals, Crash. That is all I will say for now. We will speak again.
Alright, so now we're into the game proper. Might as well make a new, or save it. Reading memory card directory. I think I'll just save over my old game here. So anyway, in the first Crash Bandicoot game... Wait, what? Maybe not. So anyway, in the first Crash Bandicoot game, basically, there's this mad scientist named Neo Cortex, and his assistant Dr. Nitrous Brio. Nitrous or Nitrous, and Nitrous sounds better, but I've heard it pronounced both ways. And they created this machine called the Evolvo Ray, which essentially would make an animal become bigger and smarter and stronger. And they used it on various creatures, and Crash Bandicoot was one of them. Yeah, that's a bandicoot. Bandicoots aren't normally that big, and they're not normally orange, and they normally don't wear blue jeans and sneakers, but Crash does. And Crash was essentially a reject experiment. He escaped, and he washed up on Insanity Beach. Whoops, didn't mean to save it again. Oh well. And unfortunately for Crash, Cortex still had his girlfriend, Tawna Bandicoot. And basically the plot of the first game was you just had to rescue Tawna. She actually didn't really appear much in the rest of the series because she was deemed a little bit too sexualized, oddly. So now we're in Crash Bandicoot 2, and in my opinion this is actually the best game in the series, by far. My second favorite would be Crash 4, also known as The Wrath of Cortex. But, like Crash Bandicoot 2, it takes everything the first one did right and gets rid of most of what it did wrong. The fact that it's before the gimmick levels started getting way too much screen time does not hurt, certainly. Seriously, I would have liked Crash 3 significantly better if it hadn't had so many of those stupid motorcycle levels. But yeah, Crash 2 just has a nice balance of good level design, good scenery, good music, and not too many annoying gimmicks. Crash 4 is... Actually, a lot of people didn't seem to like Crash 4 because they said it was too similar to the third game. And in my opinion, it was similar to the third game except less annoying, so... Crash 3 was actually probably the highest rated and most popular, but it just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't really like Crash 3 for some reason. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't one of my favorites. And I'm sure part of that had to do with just how much time you spent in various vehicles and stuff instead of platforming like you're supposed to be doing. The aforementioned motorcycle levels, there are 4 of them, which is about 3.5 too many. And then there was Crash Twinsanity, Crash 5. I actually kind of hated that game until I learned the backstory behind it, which is rather sad. I feel like if they'd had more time, the developers, I mean, then Crash 5 wouldn't have sucked as much as it did. Yeah, in that one they tried for a free roaming format, and in my opinion they didn't do all that great a job with it. For various reasons. The first Crash game, well... what can I say about that one? Crash 1 is one of those games that I don't really play all that often, and usually when I actually do play it, it doesn't take very long for me to remember why I don't play it all that often. It certainly wasn't a bad game, but it had its problems, definitely. The level design, per se, wasn't really that bad, but it was combined with, well, for one thing, in Crash 1, if you wanted any of the gems, you had to not only get all the boxes, but you had to beat the entire level without losing a life. Thank goodness they got rid of that restriction in future games. Yeah, in Crash 2, or starting with Crash 2, if you want the gems, at least the regular gems, you still have to beat the level and get all the boxes, but you can lose as many lives as you want on the way. Also, I think Crash 1 had what is possibly the worst, well, easily, the worst save system I have ever seen in a video game in my life, short of having no save system at all. If you've played Crash 1, you'll know what I mean, but I don't need to go into the gory details, do I? Important thing is, well, oh yeah, I guess there were 2 games after Crash Twinsanity. There was Crash of the Titans, and then there was Mind Over Mutant. And those were okay games in their own right, but the biggest problem with them is they don't really belong to the platforming genre so much. They kind of took the formula and, in my opinion, messed with it a little bit too much. Not that riding around on monsters beating the crap out of things isn't cool, but it's just not the same as... it just doesn't feel like Crash Bandicoot anymore, if you know what I mean. But Crash 2, I think, is a nice balance of stuff. Old and new gimmick, or old and new mechanics, and whatever. Time to start level 1, Turtle Woods. And if you didn't notice from the entryway above it, this one has a crystal and 2 gems. One of them is a regular gray or clear white gem, whatever you want to call it, and the other one's a blue gem. So yeah, you start off in a room like that in every level. So this is essentially, well, it is the same scenery as the intro stage. We're on an island of sorts, and it's raining. And we're walking through the forest, and we're jumping on crates. You can actually jump a little higher if you crouch and then jump. This is mud. It doesn't hurt you, it just makes you move slowly. As far as I know, it's only in these level types, and that is a bottomless pit. Yes, you die instantly if you fall down it, as you usually do when you fall down bottomless pits in platformers. However, since this is a 3D game, you can actually walk around it instead of jumping over it. Okay, that one you have to jump over because it spans the entire width of the path. But you know, you could not walk around it if this were a 2D game. I'm glad they reduced the number of jumps for these to 5 in Crash 3 and 4. And I guess 5 too. You know, this is a secret area. Body slam on it to open that. Yeah, I don't have the patience to jump on those things 10 times most of the time. And these guys, you have to jump on them. You can't spin them because they have spikes on the front. Well, all around them. And that's a vulture, obviously. And those are nitro boxes. They were not in the first game. But they've become pretty, well, they've become somewhat of a staple of the series after that. And that's what happens if you run into them. You get blown up, obviously. Should have brought that Aku Aku mask in here, that would have helped. I wonder if I can just slide jump across. Yeah, that's easier than going through the nitros. Okay, now you have to be very careful here. Immediately slide jump off those guys' backs, otherwise you'll miss the crates on top. And well, you don't want to miss the crates on top now, do you? Oh yeah, and as far as I know, you can't get him to go back up without losing a life. And that is also something that was introduced in Crash 2. That makes all the nitro boxes in the level blow up. You wouldn't think that would really affect you much if you've already passed all of them, but actually the nitro boxes, well, count toward your crate total for the level. Obviously this is a checkpoint box, the one with the C on it. Check, point. And this turtle would be a new enemy if you hadn't gone into the bonus area. Don't try to spin attack it, you'll just get hurt by the spikes. Jump on it, flip it over, and then you can use whatever you want on it. Yeah, Crash has more than one way of attacking enemies. You can spin into them, you can slide into them, as we'll find out. Well, I'll demonstrate after this bonus. This is a bonus area. You cannot actually lose lives in bonus areas, no matter what you get hit by or fall into. Although, unfortunately, if you had any Aku Aku masks in a bonus area, you can still lose them, and if you die while you have one or more Aku Akus, then you lose them, even if you don't lose any lives. That's rather annoying, but whatever. Okay, yeah, you can't really jump high enough while you're in the mud to hit those. And you can't spin. So you have to spin before you get into the mud. Now these armadillo guys, you can pretty much use whatever attack you want on them. Oh yeah, and if you need to view the status bar, press triangle, which would be X on a Super Nintendo controller. That's how you do a slide attack. That's how you do a body slam. And there's another checkpoint. Aku Aku number 2. You don't get 2 masks hovering around you, the one mask just changes color. If you get a third mask, you don't actually get a third hit, you become invincible instead. Now that pit, as far as I know, is too wide to jump across. And now we're in a little battle arena of sorts, where you have to get rid of all the rats that pop out, and then when you kill all of them... Well, get away from me, turtle. Don't jump on that turtle too quickly, because you need it to reach that box. When you get rid of all the rats, the mushroom appears, as you saw. You can use that to bounce out of the pit. I think I actually might have successfully managed to slide jump across those. At least one of those. At least once. Did I mention I like the music in Crash 2? Yeah, this game easily has my favorite soundtrack of any. And we're in another rat pit. I mean, any of the Crash Bandicoot games. I would have liked the soundtrack in Crash 4 better, I think, if it weren't for the fact that each track was used for only one level. I have to jump sideways across that pit, and we got all 62 crates in the level, so we get the gem. No, the number of crates in the level is not constant between levels, in case you were wondering. This one has 62, the next one might have 80 or 47 or... So yeah, we got the crystal, and we got our first white gem. And Crash does a little victory dance. Yeah, who's the man, who's the man? Who's the Bandicoot? After you get your first crystal, you get another message from this guy.
Well done, Crash! I knew I could rely on you. Now listen carefully. These holograms are hard to maintain. During the course of my intellectual pursuits, I have stumbled across a force that threatens to destroy the world. Crystals are the only means of containing it. The fate of the world is at stake. It is imperative, therefore, that you bring them to me.
There, Crash? Crash!
And a message from Coco.
Are you there, Crash?
Yeah, we know that Cortex is not as trustworthy as Crash thinks he is, but he doesn't know that. I forgot to mention it before, but this is a warp room. They're basically like a world in Super Mario Brothers or whatever. This one, they always have 5 levels, at least as far as I know. They were actually introduced in Crash 2. Crash 1 had all the levels in order, and you always had to move on to the next one. And there weren't warp rooms. But with the warp room format, you can actually do the levels within a warp room in whatever order you want. Like I could have started with level 4. As long as you beat all 5 of them, then you still get to go to the boss. But I'm doing them in numerical order anyway, so that's not much of a concern. So, how do we get that blue gem? Well, fortunately, this is one of the ones you actually can get the first time through the level. So you get... Every level has at least 1 gem. Whoops, I screwed up already. Brilliant. Yeah, every level has at least 1 of the gray gems that you can get by breaking all the boxes. What?
So,
Hello.
you were helping Cortex gather crystals.
This is Nitrous Brio.
Acquired a gem. Interesting. Well, Crash, know this. As long as you are allied with Cortex, you are my sworn enemy, and I will do anything in my power to stop you. If the fate of the world is truly your concern, you must gather the gems, not the crystals. If you obtain all 42 gems, I can use them to focus a laser beam that will destroy Cortex and the space station he's created. Until then, I must use my forces to stop you from gathering crystals.
That was Nitrous Brio. He only appears... He doesn't really appear much in this game. He's not a boss battle or anything, but I love his voice. Seriously, the bad guys in this series have awesome voices. He's another mad scientist. I already talked about him, what role he played in Crash 1. He was Cortex's assistant or right-hand man or whatever. So, some levels have... Every level has at least one gem. One gray gem. And you get that by breaking all the boxes and then touching the gem at the end of the level. But some levels have 2 gems, and you get the other gem various ways. The other one might be gray, or it might be colored. And like I said, there's more than one way to get the second gem. And in this case, you get the blue gem in level 1 by going the entire level without breaking any boxes at all. So we're doing like a... I don't know what the word for it is. I forgot what they're called. Minimalist run or something. I think there's another name for that, but... Yeah, you can jump on all... You can defeat all the enemies you want. Now here we have a problem. You can't get past those boxes without jumping on at least one of them. Fortunately, jumping on a box does not constitute breaking it. So yeah, as far as Embryo goes, he appears after you get your first gem. And he basically tells you that you shouldn't be getting the crystals for Cortex, you should be getting the gems for him, and Cortex, well, he doesn't specifically say it, but I think Cortex basically betrayed him and took all the credit for what was supposed to be his invention. Or something like that, I don't know. He had some sort of beef with Cortex. End of the level already? That was quick. And because we got 0 boxes, we get the blue gem! Yay! And I have 2 Aku Aku masks. Good start for the next level. You can press triangle to skip the victory dance if you want. So, that's 1 level completed, and there are 25, well, I guess 27 levels in the game altogether. The last 2 are secret ones, and there are also 5 bosses, 1 for each warp room. But I think we're about good here. I explained some backstory about the Crash Bandicoot games, and why I like the second one more than any other. And I explained what happened in the first game. I'm not sure if I'll actually do an LP of any game besides the second one, honestly. I don't really like the first or third one enough. Well, maybe, but probably wouldn't do a 100% run, because getting the gems in the first game is a huge pain, and I don't think I've ever actually successfully done it. Gotten 100% on the first game without cheating. And the third game has other stuff to worry about. I might do an LP of the fourth game if I can find some way to record off a PlayStation 2. But until then, it's this one or nothing. So, yeah, that's why I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this game this soon, because I kind of wanted to save it. But hey, whatever, at least I finally have a game to play now. So anyway, that's the end of this one. Thanks for watching. Next time we do level 2. That's, I'll see you next time.